Hi, his Nibs here, and just got a package from Osprey pens I want to take a look at. And you notice a little bit different here. I went out the other day with my hair trimmer, had something on my mind, which is a rarity in itself, and started trimming and went on for a while before I realized that I hadn't put on the appropriate attachment. It was just the naked trimmer. So this is now the somewhat Yul Brynner look. Although I got a great compliment last night at the Y. Someone said I looked like Bruce Willis. Of course, that's after he's had his brain dysfunction, I'm sad to say. Anyway, to compensate, I'm starting to not shave here, and my ultimate objective is to have an equality of head and jowls, and people will not be able to tell which side of my head they're looking at. Anyway, that's my plan. I'm sticking with it, and we're going to take a look at what came in from Osprey pens momentarily. Okay, just a quick look at this package from Osprey pens. I'm not 1,000% sure what's in here, so it'll be a mystery reveal for you and for me. Because I think besides a pen, there are going to be some nibs included. And sure enough, there are. Okay, helpful packing list. Milano black chased Ebonite pen number 6 with a gold extra fine nib, Zebra G nib assembly, and extra nib units, Zoom double broad, Architect double broad, and a broad stub. Now, as I was discussing with Osprey pens on the phone the other day, when they told me what they'd be sending, this double broad designation I don't think is going to be true as far as what we interpret as double broad or broad, but we shall see. Let me put this knife guard back on before I kill myself. And should I turn this light on? Or just natural light? And we'll try the actual light. So I'll take a look at this little package secondarily. Here we've got the very attractive Osprey pens pen box. Really like their logo design. And I'm sure this must be a magnetic closure, and it is indeed. We've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. We have those 3 extra nibs that were mentioned, and I'll go into more detail on this I think in another scene, as I've had a chance to familiarize myself a little bit with the contents. Just don't want to bore you all. Here's a nib assembly, wow, with the attached piston converter. See, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this pen in short order. And here is the, I'll quick see if there's anything else underneath. There isn't. Osprey pens again on the inside of the box. And here is, oh my God, gorgeous. Look at that. Osprey hard rubber pen. The Milano is the model. And chased on the outside. Well, this box was well worth opening. Very, very nice. Very attractive pen. Put the box aside for a moment. Screw cap. Okay, everybody on YouTube now is doing how many turns it takes to unscrew a cap. So that's one. Just about 1 3/4, I would say. And here's the extra fine gold colored steel nib. Osprey pens. Simple design, very attractive. And unscrew the section, and there's the included piston converter. And I will read up on this a bit more, but my belief, certainly, and that converter unscrews, which is nice. My belief is quite likely that this is fillable as an eyedropper, but maybe not. I do see a little metal in the section. So let me read up on that before I give my full report, even though there is a ability to fill directly from the bottle. But we'll see what we shall see, and I'll report further, as I said, in the next scene, which I might not film immediately because I really want to learn the ins and outs of this gorgeous pen. You can see the Osprey pens and the OP and Osprey pens on the clip, ball clip, which is firm, but let me off camera now just try placing this in my shirt pocket, and that slid very, very easily, but secured firmly, which is ideal, exactly what you want. So let me continue anon. Normally when I receive a new pen for review, I do not make any nib adjustments to a pen. In fact, often I don't even look at the nib just to avoid that hesitation, because I want to get a first impression of what another end user or customer might come to accept, or expect rather, from a new pen model that they receive in the mail. For some reason, I took a look at the nib on this gorgeous pen prior to filling it. I haven't filled it yet, actually. Now I'm in macro mode. Hopefully this will pick up. And I think you can see the tines are quite unaligned. Looking at it end on as we are, the tine on the right is much higher than the tine on the left. Not a huge deal. For me anyway, I can adjust that probably in a couple of seconds. But for the average user, that would be a disappointment because this would be a scratchy nib outside of the box. And the other area of quality control and issue that I want to discuss, I'm going to have to switch out of macro, which means I probably have to stop this recording and restart it. Okay, out of macro. And that is the alignment of the clip with the nib. Very thoughtfully in this pen design, there are threads on the barrel end so that the clip can be, the cap can be posted very securely. I'm not a huge fan of posting pens myself, but this pen looks great with the cap posted, and it doesn't make it overlong or back heavy because this is a light pen overall. But when I post the cap on the rear of the pen, this was the alignment I got. Now, depending on what position you start the posting of the cap, you will get a different alignment. And that's pretty close, but it's not aligned perfectly with the nib, which I think it should be. And a lot of other pens that have caps that post on the rear of the barrel with threads, the clip is perfectly aligned with the nib, and that's not the case here. Now, this may partially be because, again, thoughtfully, removal of the nib is very easy to do. The whole nib assembly comes out for easy replacement with a different nib. And depending on how you start these threads, that may make a bit of a difference with how it aligns with the clip. Let's see. It didn't really make a difference. It's the same. So this is not a huge issue, but if I'm regularly posting a pen like this, I don't want to have to think each time, do I start with the cap in this position or this position or this position to get it close to having the clip align with the nib. And in fact, I was unable to find any position that at the end of posting the cap aligned perfectly with the nib. This is pretty close, but it's, in my mind, no cigar. And let me take the camera back a little bit so you can hopefully see this more easily. And this is what I mean. Close, but the clip needs to be, this is hard to do holding the camera. That's close, but it's not perfect. And there's no reason it shouldn't be perfect, especially when the pen is initially sent out. Now, as you change nibs, perhaps the alignment changes a bit each time. But if you never change the nib, you just keep the one that you purchased the pen with, then it really behooves the company to make sure that the clip and the nib are perfectly aligned when they go out the door. At least that's my feeling, and I think others will agree with that. Two fairly minor quality control issues and ones that can be easily corrected, I think. I just wanted to mention those first impressions, and I'm sure that the company will, once they see this video or get further feedback from me, make those corrections in the future. Just a very brief addendum to what was just mentioned, because it was hard for me to do one-handed and hold the camera as I am now. I just removed the cap, randomly put it back on the threads, and when I fully posted the cap, this is the result of that effort. So you can see quite a disparity. And as a user, you don't really want to have to think about where you're beginning to thread the cap. And again, I never found the ability to perfectly align the clip and the nib, no matter where my starting position was. Well, I decided to test the Osprey pen with some new Hongdian black ink. And after I adjusted the tines, the writing is smooth and nice enough, and it certainly isn't extra fine. But two major ink blobs after filling it, only filling it the converter about 3/4 of the way full. I haven't experienced this with any pen, new pen, in years. So I'm going to let it settle down and see if it was just a one-time experience with this new pen. I didn't wash it out ahead of time for any oils that might have been in it from manufacture. I almost never do that anyway with a pen. But as you can see, we had some major ink accidents with this. Hopefully it's just an aberration. I hadn't actually planned on doing a writing sample tonight. I just wanted to do a quick test to see if my realignment of the nib and had taken appropriately. I'm not set up now to record a writing sample, but since there was that little accident, let me see by holding the camera in one hand if I can just give some impressions of the nib now that it's adjusted. This is definitely an extra fine as advertised, and the writing with it is smooth and pleasant. So I have no problem with the quality of the nib and tipping material. I'm just sort of babbling, not really writing anything, just to demonstrate it with camera held in the left hand. And hopefully we don't have another ink accident. My supposition is I didn't rinse out or clean the pen prior to putting in ink, and I almost never do anyway. But this may be indicative of there being some oils or manufacturing debris still in the pen when I filled it with ink, so I'm not going to pass final judgment until I use this for a bit. I'll let it rest after this brief usage and come back tomorrow and see how we're doing. This is not designed as a flex nib because the pen company Osprey has produced a number of flex nibs. So this is just designed as a typical extra fine, and it certainly is that. And I'm actually enjoying the writing experience, other than the fact that I don't have my left hand in my normal position. It's laying down ink effectively. Well, I went too far that time. I was going to say it's laying down ink pretty effectively no matter the position that I'm laying nib to paper, even at an angle. I don't do reverse writing, and I've never met anybody that actually does reverse writing, so I think it's stupid to put that in a video, but everybody seems to want to do that for some odd reason. So positive experiences after the initial mishap, and we'll see how this behaves over the next couple of days of writing. Okay, I'm back after a couple of days of using this gorgeous Osprey pen, and the problems that I had with the burping of ink, I'm really going to put down to operator error, which I was the operator, so it's my error. Again, I didn't clean the pen before using. I don't normally have to do that, but I think I did with this one. And I should have, and I would have prevented that that ink burping episode, because I've been using this now for the last several days, and there's no problem at all. I almost would describe this as an XX fine nib, but it's definitely fine, finer than I would normally use in my personal pens, but very smooth for a fine or X-fine nib and pen. You're really going to enjoy this if you get this nib on the Black Chased Milano. It's a light pen, so you have no problem with writing with it posted or unposted, other than the alignment issue I mentioned in the beginning, which I think is going to be corrected in future versions. So comes in at 24.4 grams, but I do have ink in it, so let's say 20 to be safe. And cap alone at 9.7 grams, and the pen alone, but with ink in it, 15.2 grams. So just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. I had to use a black ink in this pen, obviously. So what I filled it with was a new ink I just got, the Hongdian Black. And actually in this is something that you can get separately from Osprey pens. It's a nib block kit, And I'm going to go into detail about this in a separate video because this video is getting kind of long, and this is really a whole separate focus. But in that, they include a little bit of ink, and it's a sampler from Noodler's black ink. So we'll discuss that further in a future video. So this would be a two-part or maybe even a three-part, because I also want to, excuse me, talk about the nibs that are included, or that you can purchase separately, rather, not included. But they've produced a lot of specialty nibs, and it's going to be really neat to play with these and demonstrate these. I should get my loop out so I can actually see what I'm talking about. Okay, this one is a stub, and it's rated as a B stub, and I'll do some comparisons with other stubs I have to see where we are actually size-wise, but it does look quite broad. Here, I love these little nib capsules, I'm calling them. This is their Z nib. Might want to actually show it on camera, Norman. This is the Z nib. And this allows you to, from what I've read, because I haven't used it yet, but from what I've read on their website, allows you to vary the width of your line depending on the angle at which the tipping material touches the paper. So that is quite interesting. We have a Architect nib, and they're calling this a BB 1.5 millimeter. Hey, there we go. Again, I'll be comparing that to at least one other Architect nib and see more about the line width. And then here, and again, sorry to keep going off camera so I can actually examine the nib. This is the flex nib that they offer, and it comes with this syringe, I believe, so you can fill the converter directly. And what also I'll be taking a look at in a subsequent video is these written instructions for using and filling and flex nib care. Very detailed. I've never seen such detailed instructions using the nib block that they supply with this kit, and really, really excellent work here that they've done. Their focus at Osprey is they only have, at this point, and I don't know how much they're going to expand, they only have a few pen design models, but what they're really I think going to be focusing on, and are focusing on now, is all of these specialty nibs, and specialty nibs that are inexpensive, so you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to try out different nib variations. So that's really exciting, and I want to do subsequent videos on that alone. So stay tuned for those. I'll link to their store on Amazon in this video, I believe, down below. And just this is a family business, and they care so much about what they're producing, and that's why when I give the feedback about the cap alignment, for instance, they're going to get right on that, I'm sure, because it's father, mother, and son is the principal. But the father, Venu, I've dealt with for 15 or 20 years in the pen community. He always has really unique ideas about what he wants to create with new pen models. And their heart is really in the right place, and they're very, very focused on quality and unique designs and unique paths, in the sense of, as I just mentioned, creating these specialty nibs at an inexpensive price for the end user. And just the extent of these instructions and detail gives you some indication of how much they really care about the end user. And Osprey pens, I think, is going to, it's starting to already, it's going to make a major splash in the pen community. So look forward to some future videos. This will be part 1. And please bear in mind that my initial ink filling debacle I'm putting down to me, and not to Osprey pens. So talk with you soon. So just a very brief addendum. I just wanted to say again that the problem with the filling and the expression of ink that I first had when I filled the pen, it's not Osprey pen's fault or problem. It really was mine. Didn't do my due diligence in cleaning out any residual manufacturing oils or little pieces of material left over from manufacturing, which might have been the cause. But the pen has been operating and performing flawlessly ever since. And I've been using it for several days. So just wanted to reiterate that point and not scare anybody away, because this is a really terrific pen. And I'm excited to do part 2 and maybe part 3 on the nibs and the nib block kit and some of the other things that they're doing. So until next time, his Nibs signing off.